Tonight, we do have breaking news as we come on the air in the West. The image is coming in now. There's been a suspected terror attack in Israel, several bus explosions. Here in the U.S., the record-breaking brutal cold across the nation, and for how long? And desperate for freedom, the Menendez brothers tonight in an extraordinary move, calling into a podcast and what they reveal. First tonight, this life-threatening, record-breaking cold across the country from Texas to the East Coast. It was minus 15 degrees in Omaha. In parts of the country, wind chills 20 to 30 below zero tomorrow. And then the major change coming. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Also just in tonight, the breaking news, the video circulating online of a suspected terror attack in Israel. Reports of multiple explosions targeting buses at different locations. They were empty, but Israeli authorities say this was meant for the morning rush. Martha Raddatz on what we know. Moments ago, Elon Musk center stage wielding a chainsaw amid the mass layoffs targeting thousands of federal workers across the U.S. The president's team today defending his first 30 days in office. And the new poll in tonight, what Americans think of the first 30 days of the mass firings, of Elon Musk's role, what the polling reveals. Tonight, after President Trump called President Zelensky a dictator and said that Ukraine shouldn't have started the war with Russia, the White House today saying President Trump is very frustrated with Zelensky. The Trump administration pressuring him to sign a deal that allegedly includes handing over 50% of Ukraine's mineral rights to the U.S. European leaders alarmed by this sudden shift on Ukraine. The prison inmate brought to a new prison in upstate New York, the disturbing police video, and authorities say within a half an hour of arriving at that prison, the inmate was clinically dead. Tonight, in an extraordinary move, the Menendez brothers calling into a podcast from prison, hoping to be set free. Eric and Lyle Menendez describing their 35 years in prison and what they reveal. The dramatic scene on the highway, a mother driving an SUV slammed by a cement truck. The SUV bursts into flames. The extraordinary effort to save the mother. And the showdown on the ice, USA versus Canada, amid political tension between both countries boiling over even before the hockey game tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night. The suspected terror attack in Israel, multiple bus explosions, the images coming in now, and Martha Raddatz on this in a moment. But we do begin tonight with the life-threatening, dangerous cold across the country. It is record-breaking tonight, 70 million Americans bracing from Texas right over to the East Coast. Take a look at the wind chills tomorrow morning, the feel-like temperatures below freezing across this country. Wind chills minus 13 in Minneapolis, 14 in Shreveport, 3 in Nashville, 13 in Washington, D.C., 11 in New York City tomorrow morning. New images tonight of a water main break, cars encased in ice in Detroit, several feet deep. They're working to clear the ice. An historic snowstorm in Virginia Beach, up to 13 inches of snow, treacherous driving on the roads. 3 people rescued from a submerged car in Boone County, Kentucky. The death toll from days of flooding, snow, and ice there now rising to 15 tonight. Crashes on Highway 321 in Lincoln County, North Carolina. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast, what you'll face tomorrow, and the big change then coming. And ABC's Faith Abube with the images coming in tonight.
Tonight, after powerful storms pummeled the East Coast with up to a foot of snow, now the deep freeze. More than a dozen record lows broken this morning, minus 15 in Omaha, Nebraska, the coldest on this date in more than 100 years. And with the wind chill, it felt like 27 below. First responders and homeless outreach workers in Omaha working to convince people to seek shelter if they need it.
No one can survive this. We have people who have been out in other winters and have survived, and they think they can survive this, just like past winters. It's different.
In Kansas City, roofer Gabe Tobe telling me this is the first time in 4 years that it's been just too cold to work.
It's extremely hard when it's this cold. Our hands are our best tools, and if you can't feel your fingers, then it's really not easy to do your job.
In Detroit, an entire neighborhood encased in ice earlier this week. WXYZ's Randy Wembley on the scene.
City crews have been breaking up and removing ice surrounding dozens of vehicles here after a massive water main break that flooded blocks in this neighborhood from the streets all the way into basements.
Officials say it'll be at least 2 weeks before everything is fixed. And in Kentucky, the death toll from the devastating flooding rising to 15. They're still making water rescues. In Boone County overnight, first responders pulling 3 people out of their submerged vehicle. They're expected to be okay. And David, behind me, the Missouri and the Kansas rivers covered in a sheet of ice. One more night of brutally cold temperatures around -3 degrees, and then the warm up approaching 60 degrees by Monday. A major swing in temperatures. David.
Yeah, what a swing there in Kansas City for sure. Faith, thank you again tonight. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of WABC here in New York.
David, we're almost to the finish line of this frigid blast. A wicked wind here in New York right now, and the flakes are flying through the evening hours. But the core of the cold still in the middle of the country. Look at the wake-up temperatures tomorrow. Teens and 20s all the way down to the deep south. All those circle cities, possible record lows. 21 in Dallas, 17 in Birmingham. You factor in the wind, feels like 20 to 30 below in the Midwest, in the plains, single digits from Lubbock to Huntsville. But what a change over the weekend. Temperatures spike, as you heard in Kansas City, some 36 degrees by Monday. We'll be in the low 60s. Pushing 70 in Dallas, 50s in New York. Will feel great by early next week. David?
All right, Lee Goldberg with the forecast for us again tonight. Lee, thank you. Now to the breaking news we're following as we're on the air tonight. Explosions rocking Tel Aviv. A suspected terror attack in Israel. Bombs planted on several buses. They were empty, but Israeli authorities say they were meant for the morning rush. Martha Raddatz on what we know so far.
Tonight, a string of explosions rocking central Israel in what Israeli authorities say is a suspected terrorist act, highly coordinated and brazen. Multiple city buses up in flames. Authorities say 4 devices were planted on buses, 3 exploded, and they're searching for suspects. Investigators combing through the burned out wreckage. They say the attack was believed to have been planned for Friday morning, meant to detonate during the pre-Sabbath rush when buses in Israel are crowded with commuters. But fortunately, the buses were empty, still in a parking lot. U.S. intelligence sources say the size and number of devices indicates this was well-resourced, saying they are military-grade, sizable explosives. And sources tell ABC News investigators found a note indicating the attackers were seeking revenge for Israel's ongoing operations in the West Bank. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu instructing the IDF to now carry out massive operations in areas he believes are terrorist hotspots. And David, while Israelis have gotten accustomed to rocket and missile attacks launched from outside Israel, this appears to be one of the largest, most coordinated incidents inside Israel proper since the October 7th massacre in 2023. David?
I know you'll be continuing to follow this into the evening hours, Martha. Thank you. Tonight, as President Trump's sweeping job cuts now target the IRS next, and thousands of government workers already in several agencies across the country, Elon Musk late today center stage wielding a chainsaw, boasting about slashing the federal bureaucracy. The president's team today defending his first 30 days in office. And tonight here, the new poll, what Americans think of this first 30 days. Here's Mary Bruce tonight.
Tonight, before a conservative conference in Washington, Elon Musk, chainsaw in hand, boasting of slashing the federal workforce.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
With tax season in full swing, the IRS tonight beginning to lay off more than 6,000 employees across the country, roughly 6% of its workforce. Employees like Kia informed by email.
I was like the first person on my team that got the email, and I just broke down into tears.
Sources tell us no one being laid off plays a direct role in processing Americans' tax returns, but that there are still widespread concerns within the IRS that the layoffs could ultimately cause delays. The firing's part of the administration's sweeping effort led by Musk to dramatically downsize the federal workforce. More than 2 million people spread out across all 50 states, with the largest number in D.C., Virginia, Maryland, Florida, Texas, and California. The administration insists they're firing people for cause, but many of these fired workers who have only been on the job for less than 2 years say they've never even had a performance evaluation. From Nicholas Berardi, who works for the IRS in Philadelphia.
It even says here in the email that they're citing the reason why I'm fired is because of my performance. But until today, I hadn't gotten a performance review.
To Emma Frericks, who works for the U.S. Geological Survey in Iowa.
The thing is, I never had a meeting implying or even an official sit down letter saying, here is your performance review. You're not doing a good job.
Still, today at a press briefing marking 1 month of the Trump administration, the president's top economic advisor insisting that thousands of workers who've been fired deserve to go.
So you're saying that everybody who's being let go was doing a bad job? I'm saying that we're studying every agency and deciding who to let go and why. And we're doing so very rationally with a lot of support from analysis.
Because we're being told by a lot of people who have been let go at other agencies that they were told they were being dismissed because of poor performance, when in some cases they haven't even had a performance review yet because they've only been on the job a couple of months.
Yeah, I've never seen a person who was laid off for poor performance say that they were performing poorly.
But as the president's team stood in the briefing room defending his first 30 days, tonight a new Washington Post Ipsos poll has Trump's approval rating at 45%, with 53% of Americans disapproving. 57% say the president has exceeded his authority since taking office. Only 34% approve of how Musk is handling his role, with 49% disapproving. The president gets his strongest numbers on his top issue, immigration. But even there, the public is split, 50% approving of his performance and 48% disapproving.
And on the issue of the economy, the president, keenly aware that inflation is rising, is now floating the idea of giving money saved through the work of Musk's team directly to the American people. In the meantime, the Senate today confirming Trump's pick for FBI director, his staunch supporter, Kash Patel. This was a tight vote, 2 Republicans voting against him, but tonight Patel will now lead the nation's top law enforcement agency. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you. Tonight, after President Trump called President Zelensky a dictator, the White House now saying President Trump is very frustrated with Zelensky. The Trump administration allegedly pressuring Zelensky to sign a deal that includes Ukraine handing over 50% of Ukraine's mineral rights to the U.S. Ian Pennell from Kyiv again tonight.
Tonight, in the face of relentless Russian drone attacks on the capital here in Kyiv, President Zelensky also fending off political attacks from President Trump, and now Trump's White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz declining to blame Russia for starting the war. Waltz, who was once vocal about standing up for Ukraine, saying this today.
President Trump is obviously very frustrated right now with President Zelensky. The fact that that he hasn't come to the table, that he hasn't been willing to take this opportunity that we have offered.
This was the deal from Trump that Zelensky was asked to sign, according to Ukrainian officials. Hand over half of the revenue from its mineral resources to the US forever, but without any promise of security going forward. A senior Ukrainian official telling ABC News they were given almost no time to read the document. The source claiming when Zelensky presented an alternative plan to the US team at the Munich Security Conference, they threatened to cancel planned meetings with Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio. A US official calling this inaccurate. Today, US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg meeting with Zelensky amid this blistering public feud. Ukraine insisting the meeting went well and a new deal over mineral resources is on the table. But a planned joint press conference was cancelled at the request of the American delegation, according to Zelensky's office. Zelensky saying Ukraine is ready for a just and lasting peace. And here's why. Alexander lost both of his legs in a Russian attack. It's a miracle he's alive. His body is broken, but his spirit strong. We can't stop the fighting, he says. It's the Russians who came here, not us.
David, EU leaders are alarmed by what they're hearing from Trump. Britain and France sending delegations to meet him next week to try and resolve this crisis. David.
Ian Pennell live in Kyiv again tonight. Ian, thank you. Back here in the U.S., meanwhile, the prison inmate brought to a new prison in upstate New York. Authorities say within a half an hour of arriving there, the inmate was clinically dead. Tonight, hear the disturbing police video, and now 9 former corrections officers are charged. Here's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, multiple corrections officers seen in this disturbing body camera video beating Robert Brooks at a New York State prison, now charged in his death. Brooks had just been transferred to the Marcy Correctional Facility near Utica.
About a half an hour later, he was clinically dead.
6 former officers charged with murder, all 6 plus 3 others charged with manslaughter. Last December, the officers seen choking, punching, and kicking the 43-year-old in the face, torso, and genitals.
I think any sentient human being looking at the tapes naturally comes to the conclusion that he must have said something. He must have spit at the officers. He must have resisted in some way. And the fact of the matter is, he did absolutely nothing.
An autopsy finding Brooks died from homicide caused by asphyxia due to neck compression and multiple blunt force injuries. Tonight, Brooks's family calling the charges a step toward accountability.
These men murdered my father. It was on video. These men need to be prosecuted and convicted of the crimes they made.
Brooks had been serving a 12-year prison sentence for assault. All of the charged officers pled not guilty, and some have been released on bond. David.
Stephanie Ramos with us here. Steph, thank you. Tonight, the Menendez brothers in an extraordinary move, calling into a podcast from prison just 1 month from their sentencing hearing. And what they reveal. Here's Matt Gutman.
Tonight, in an extraordinary move, the Menendez brothers calling into a podcast. TMZ's Two Angry Men podcast with Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos, their defense attorney. Eric Menendez describing the terror behind bars.
I faced a lot of bullying and trauma. It was a dangerous environment.
What happened to you?
I was picked on, bullied violently, and it was traumatic. And it was continual. And, there's the things that a lot of inmates in prison go through and when they're not part of a gang structure.
And Eric says he didn't fight back.
I'm not going to fight back. I'm not going to, engage. And I had no one to really to turn to for help.
The brothers served 21 years of their sentence in separate prisons. Eric describing how he felt when he says he learned his brother Lyle had been violently attacked.
I was told Lyle just got assaulted and got his jaw broken, and it was, I'm thinking, he's over there, I'm going through this over here, and at least we could protect each other maybe if we were together.
Next month, the brothers face a critical hearing when a judge will decide whether they should be resentenced for the gruesome murders of their parents, Kitty and Jose. The 2024 Netflix series shining a spotlight on their case and the alleged sex abuse by their father.
This is done. This is done. You understand?
Lyle believes that the TV show helped people understand the childhood trauma he and Eric endured. Now, David, a resentencing is the most likely legal avenue for the brothers' release. And LA's new DA, Nathan Hochman, telling me that he and his team have been closely examining the mountainous case file, but no decision has been made yet. David.
Matt Gutman on the case here again tonight. Matt, thank you. When we come back here, this showdown on the ice, the U.S. versus Canada tonight amid this political tension already, and the tensions already before the big game. And then look at this tonight, a dramatic scene on the highway. A mother driving an SUV slammed by that cement truck, the SUV bursting into flames. Really an extraordinary effort to save the mother in a moment. Tonight, the harrowing rescue of a mother trapped in her burning SUV. It happened in Chandler, Arizona, outside Phoenix. Video showing the SUV rear-ended by a cement truck, rolling over, catching fire on US 60. A motorcycle officer smashing the driver's side window, an off-duty firefighter then pulling her to safety. The mother says a second longer, the flames would have reached her. When we come back here tonight, a lot of eyes on this tense matchup, the USA versus Canada tonight, with President Trump saying Canada should be the 51st state, and the tension already. To the index, it's USA versus Canada in Boston tonight, the final game of the four nations face-off on ESPN. Monday's game marked by 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, the U.S. winning 3-1. Emotions all running high before the game tonight, with President Trump saying Canada will become our cherished 51st state. When we come back here tonight, it is one of the most moving moments for any parent, and the woman determined to make sure mom saw it. Finally tonight here, a baby's first steps. Tonight, in the northwest corner of Louisiana, in Bossier City, the remarkable milestone caught on a preschool's video camera, a child's first steps. Watch the bottom right corner closely there. That's 12-month-old Lily Kate Pontiff, standing up, holding onto the table leg, and then bravely letting go. Slowly, carefully putting one foot right there in front of the other, Lily Kate taking her very first steps. Her teacher, you can see Shakira Short noticing and cheering Lily Kate on, clapping her hands and telling Lily Kate to walk toward her. Another step, her proud teacher rocking back and forth, a teacher overjoyed. Afterward, that teacher calling up mom Lauren, who was at work, and telling her she's not going to believe what just happened. And right here tonight,
hi, David.
That proud teacher, Shakira.
When I looked up and saw her taking her first steps, it was exciting.
And joining us too,
hey, David.
Mom Lauren at Lily Kate and her big sister Sailor, proud of Lily Kate's first steps.
I just couldn't help but fight back tears, seeing how excited and happy and supportive Shakira was.
Lily Kate on her way. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right here tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.